Congratulations to you for making it this far into the Juice Plus Live Home Edition. My name is Dr. Mitra, and I want to thank Janet Black and everyone else at corporate for giving me this honor of wrapping up our first ever home edition of Juice Plus Live. I know that so many of you are brand new, or maybe just taking a look for the first time at our model. So I want to share my story with you. And the way I share my story today is very different than how I saw myself 26 years ago. Today, I have a certain clarity about how I was guided and gifted each step of the way. But back then, all we had were the first two Juice Plus fruit and veggie blends. And all I knew back then in my mind and in my heart and in my gut was that this product belongs on every kitchen counter. I still remember sitting at the kitchen table and seeing a brochure of Juice Plus for the first time. It was comparing Juice Plus to juicing the same fruits and vegetables as in the blends. As I was juicing already in the kitchen and dehydrating cells in the lab as a biochemist using the same technology, the first thought I had was, oh, I should have thought of this. I just hadn't put my kitchen and lab together. How brilliant that someone did this with food. As a scientist and engineer, the technology made 100% sense to me. In fact, I was actually incensed that I hadn't thought of the idea myself. So I did the next best thing. I signed up to get it for myself and my family. I actually recruited myself into the business, you might say. Not to make money, but to share the product with anyone who came across my path. And that is no exaggeration. No one was safe. In the beginning, I had zero training, but I was ignorance on fire, which is powerful now that I look back. Whenever or wherever I ran into people I knew or whoever I called on the phone, the first thing I would say is, hey, get your credit card out. They put fruits and veggies in a capsule. And I got 50 customers that way in my first month and 300 in my first few months. No, I didn't have a practice. I'm not a medical doctor. I was just a researcher gone rogue. One of the first people I told was my friend Doug Barlow. He was an outdoor enthusiast, and I suggested he needed to carry Juice Plus with him into the wilderness, as he wasn't going to be packing a ton of fresh produce in that backpack. He caught on right away, and he asked me, hey, doesn't everyone need Juice Plus? And if that's the case, shouldn't you be able to make some income with Juice Plus? He became my first partner. And it's really because I was trying to help him make money that I started to open up to learn more about this business model. Making money had never been a priority for me, as I had pretty much accepted that as a researcher, I'd never be a rich woman. Honestly, I was more interested in science than in making money. And that's how I was raised. But the more I learned, the more I began to respect this model and paying people what they are worth based on their efforts. Well, Doug ended up being my most successful partner, and I rewarded him by marrying him. We had children, and I have to tell you, I have story after story about how Juice Plus has supported our family's health over the years. My pregnancies were healthy as it was my prenatal. My kids never had to see a pediatrician for ear infections. They never missed school because of sick days, and now they are healthy adults living life full out. So, what wisdom can I impart to you today? The title of my talk is Inspiration, Motivation, and Activation. I'm wanting really to speak to the brand new people today. For those who have been with us for a while, this will be a good reminder. Every once in a while, a market is ready and ripe for what you have to offer, and that is now for us, folks. Everyone is aware that we are making history right now. Besides the obvious discussion around how many are getting infected or dying of COVID, people are more aware than ever of their health and immunity, and they need to know that a clinically proven product like Juice Plus exists, and that they can take it and give it to their family and kids and have some peace of mind. People are feeling the impact of social isolation, and they need a community like ours. People are also thinking about food security, and they need to know that Tower Gardens exist. And more people are experiencing restricted or loss of income, and this business could be just the blessing they've been praying for. My good friend Shay O'Brien was talking to my team the other day, explaining how our business was built during times of recession. He talked about when Jeff Roberti first started. It was a time of recession, and Jeff rolled up his sleeves and made network marketing history because he took maximum advantage of the timing. Shay also described that Germany, our biggest European market, also took off during a recession period. And he cited a few other examples of countries like Spain that sat for years with Juice Plus and then surged during a recession. He shared that when he started with the company, he was only 23 years old, and it was also a time of recession. He just wiped his desk clean of all other projects and went to work on this. So the time is now, folks, especially during this quarantine. Every day, you can make every day count right now, and then ride that momentum up the marketing plan and see where it takes you. Just be open. Let's start with inspiration. Believe it or not, there are psychologists who study and try to quantify or measure inspiration. Back in 2004, two researchers, Thrash and Elliott, argued that inspiration involves two distinct processes: a relatively passive process that can be called being inspired by, and relatively active process that is called inspired to. An example of passive inspiration could be a sunset. You can be inspired by a sunset, but it doesn't necessarily move you into action. Different than being inspired by is an active inspiration or being inspired to. And this second type of inspiration moves you into motivation. And I'm hoping that what you have heard from our speakers has inspired you to motivation and activation. Perhaps you were inspired by one of our healthcare professionals you heard during this online conference. Like this quote from Dr. Sachs: 71% of our nation's youth will be ineligible to join the armed forces because of their weight or health condition. Are you kidding me? This certainly makes me stop and think just how much our youth and their parents need our education. I have to tell you that I chose to go to Stanford Medical School for my PhD because I have very high standards, and the researchers there were the best of the best. And I have chosen to be aligned with this company for the past 26 years because they're also the best of the best at bringing real solutions to help people get the more plant nutrition into their body. I mean, 40 clinical studies, 40. I don't know a single health-related product that I can put in my mouth that has had more validation, that it supports all the systems in my body and yours as much as Juice Plus has been validated. And of course, we have Dr. Manfred Lamprecht, our Director of Research, to thank for the continued efforts in the research behind our products. Talk about best of the best. Or perhaps you were inspired to share Tower Gardens by listening to Tim Blank or Stephen Ritz. How inspiring is Stephen Ritz? He is the embodiment of passion and purpose, because we can all get overwhelmed by what is happening around us. I love this quote from Stephen. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. Remember, you don't need to be great to start, but you must start in order to achieve greatness. Make epic happen. What lights you up most about this opportunity? What inspires you most? Maybe it's health and inspiring healthy living. Maybe it's teaching kids a curriculum using Tower Gardens. Maybe you see yourself growing your own food and inspiring others to do the same. Maybe it's offering nutrition along with other healthcare services you already provide, as you're already a healthcare professional. Maybe it's a way to show people how to earn a little extra money. Maybe it's to set the world on fire with Juice Plus and Tower Gardens. Maybe it's being part of a community of like-minded people. Maybe it's to add more fun and joy in your life while helping others. Write that shizzle down, people. So when you get someone who doesn't quite get what you're trying to share, you can go back to that inspiration and remind yourself that they cannot steal your inspiration. If you are new, you may be operating in that ignorance on fire mode, like I was when I first got started. I applaud you. If you are there, go for it. Although I will tell you that if you've never done anything like this before, you will run into people who don't get it, or not right away anyway. And that may cause some confusion and doubt. Confusion usually starts with someone saying no to you just because it's not the right time. or they don't understand yet. But they don't make their reasons clear to you, or maybe you don't hear their reasons, and then you can spiral into more confusion with your own self-talk and your own inner critic. So if you find yourself reliving that no you heard over and over again and telling yourself things like, oh, I should have said this, I could have done that, that can further spiral you into, I can't do this, what was I thinking? Success is the result of clarity, whereas failure comes from confusion. And there really isn't ever failure in my mind. There's only the perception of failure. Let me tell you a story about this. I think about my sponsor, who I didn't know, by the way. I don't even remember his name anymore. But he heard about Juice Plus from his church 26 years ago and told his boss about it. His boss knew me, and since I was a scientist, he asked me my opinion. I, of course, had a big epiphany and still remember the moment when I was reading that very first brochure at my kitchen table. I immediately got it and started sharing it. But my sponsor had already gotten a few rejections, and before I even came along, he let those rejections get the best of him. He was so confused that he didn't understand that he had just recruited a future PMD plus and someone who would end up receiving a founder's award from the president of the company. He lacked clarity, and so he quit. And he never made the kind of money he could have made just from being my sponsor. Don't let the short-term challenges stop you from having clarity. On the other hand, successful people double down on personal development during times such as the ones we live in today. Clarity starts with you. You get inspired to take action, and then you start seeing results, and then you become more validated by others as you go, and you create momentum. And sometimes you do get stuck. This is a visual of how you get stuck. You have equal energy going in both directions. Let's say you have 10,000 thoughts in a day. It's probably more than that, but let's say it's 10,000. And let's say 500 of them are about your Juice Plus business. And this slide is depicting that half of them are positive and half of them are negative. So what do you manifest in your business? Nothing, really. You're stuck. You gain a customer here, but you lose one there. Or you get excited about a new rep while another one gets mad and quits. And here you are in the middle of it, stuck. The work at hand, my friends, is to manage your thoughts and seek clarity. You need not be perfect 100% of the time. You just have to average more happy, positive thoughts than the negative ones consistently to gain momentum in the right direction. I was taught early on by another founder award recipient, Carrie Daigle, to invest back into myself with the money I was making with Juice Plus. And I'm thankful for that. I have done my share of personal development courses. I have already shared the most important lesson I have learned. Success is the result of clarity, whereas failure comes from confusion. And again, remember, there really isn't ever failure, just the perception of failure. Don't let yourself spiral into confusion. Remember what inspired you today. What captivated you, moved you, made you happy, brought you joy. Write that sizzle down and frame it, and look for signs that providence is lighting up your path. I now can look back and see how I was guided and assisted by people and circumstances, orchestrated divine intervention all along my journey to the top. It can be the same for you. I also believe it was the same for my sponsor, but his confusion kept him from seeing clarity. Don't let that happen to you. Then, as the psychologist I quoted earlier said, if you are inspired to make a move, you have motivation. Let's add some substance to that idea. What's your target? You need a target to aim your energy toward. Otherwise, your energy, the energy you gain from your inspiration, will be dissipated in random directions. This part can really be easy or complicated. Some people just love to complicate things by reinventing the wheel and spend time creating projects. Sure, you can do that. But can I give you a pro tip, especially in the beginning? Ready? Make your target a monetary target and understand that I'm not saying money will inspire you. We've already covered the topic of inspiration, but you need a material goal as a motivation. Your target should not be a general statement like, I want to be financially independent or I want to retire. Those are not concrete, so your brain cannot engage. You need specifics to engage your brain. And trust me, there is a part of you that loves a challenge. You need specifics to engage your brain into taking specific action, a game plan. So a goal like your Juice Plus check will help you start making a car payment within the next 2 months, or you'll be able to pay for that trip to your next family vacation trip to Hawaii with your Juice Plus check. These examples are specific goals that will begin to engage you. Whatever you create as your target, make a large part of that next step be part of your next step in the marketing plan. We already have a business plan. If you were to start a normal business today, you would need a business plan so solid that if you took it to the bank, they would give you a loan. Now, most people don't have the business skills to do something like that. In this business, that's not needed of you. You already have a foolproof, tried and proven business model, our marketing plan. Make the next step in our marketing plan your target. And when you get there, make the next step. After that, make your next target, be your next target, and so on. Take that stairway all the way to heaven, folks. You have heard how this system is written out for you, organized for you in the Freedom Revolution site. You just need to get good at sharing our products, our events, and our system to do well. Which leads me into activation. Do you have a list of names, a memory jogger? Back in the day, I had to write this down. Today, it's already on your phone probably or in your email directory. Just start by reaching out to 5 people a week, 10 people a week, or whatever number seems reasonable to you. Don't judge them. Don't skip over someone and deprive anyone of the opportunity to see this for themselves, especially in today's times. People will surprise you. And your calendar, what does your calendar look like? When I first got started, I didn't understand the importance of keeping a calendar. I was a scientist. I worked a ton. I worked long days, but I didn't own a calendar. Didn't have the need. I remember going to a meeting and seeing a very successful couple give a training. I was inspired by them. I wanted to emulate them. And when they were done, I went up to them and asked if I could talk to them more. Well, they pulled out their day timer. Back then, we didn't have smartphones. Their day timer, I remember seeing, was jam-packed with appointments. And that really caught my attention and made an indelible impression in my mind. I realized how I was working my business was kind of haphazard. I needed a day timer. Today, I will tell you, if it doesn't live on my online calendar, it's not going to happen. Is your calendar full? And what should you fill it with? Events. That's the next step. And you have to understand the flow of events. When you have an event, you have something to invite people to, and that itself is a conversation starter. Here are just some examples of how you can start filling your calendar right now. These red events are sponsored by you, let's say, or in conjunction with your sponsor or maybe sideline buddies that live near where you live. These events are designed to expose people to our mission, our products, and our culture. They can be Zoom meetings, Juice Plus TV broadcasts, watching a video with your prospect, a Facebook event, a connection call, beer and business events, made for more events, networking events, customer care events, healthy cooking events, tower garden parties, wine and wellness parties, and so on. These smaller events feed into larger local events where the people can drive to locally near you. These events are usually a collaboration between efforts with our field leaders and corporate sponsorship for outside speakers that include regionals and boot camps. And finally, these all feed into larger corporate sponsored events, such as the summer tours and our conference, where people get a bigger vision of this opportunity. If you put in at least one conference or one of the summer tours as a non-negotiable into your calendar, and then work backwards to create smaller events that you create online or live near you, you'll be able to bring more people into the larger events because the smaller events feed the larger events that create vision. I love this quote from my fellow founder member and friend, Sean Myers. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you schedule. I have scheduled so many events online in March and April and really pushed my own limits, trust me, but it's working. My business has grown tremendously, which tells me I am making an impact out there, helping people feel more secure about their immune system. I am helping to distract more people away from news, watching the news and bad news, into growing food for themselves and saving money with their tower gardens. I am helping people create more income during these uncertain times. And I have a job to do every day that I choose to work. I have a purpose. I have inspiration, motivation, and activation. I know you do too. Let's do this. Thanks for being with us. In the words of CEO Paulo Teixeira, you can do well for yourself while doing good for others. Let's go, people.